Hi there, my name is Matthew Pilla, and I will be talking today about climate change, melting ice caps, and ultimately who's to blame. Now, the purpose or the reasoning that I picked this topic was because I noticed there's a large gap in between what I like to call the believers and the non-believers. Now, this is especially evident in today's political parties, the Republicans and the Democrats. I have some statistics regarding both. 20% of Republicans believe that global climate change is a very serious problem. That's only 20%. Now with the Democrats, it's about 68%, and independents is about 41%. 50% of Republicans support limiting greenhouse gas emissions, which is pretty far off. Democrats is about 82%. Only 12% of Republicans believe that climate change will harm them personally. And this is where the problem is. 12% of Republicans believe that it's basically not harming them. And this is human nature. And only 42% of Democrats believe this. And it's human nature to believe or to not see things that are happening because they're happening on the other side of the world. You know, we don't have ice caps in our backyard, and out of sight, out of mind. And these statistics come from the Spring 2015 Global Attitude Survey. Now, like most conservatives, I didn't believe that we have that much control about Mother Nature or this planet other than maybe a nuclear bomb. But it wasn't until I decided to do my own research. Now, global climate change and the melting of ice caps has been an issue for quite a while, so there's been quite a bit of data and statistics out there so that you can do your own research and make up your own mind. And you're able to look through the propaganda, you're able to look through the political agendas and really see what's happening. And I feel that a lot of the disbelief or a lot of naysayers comes from just being misinformed. So I would like to touch on my agenda. My agenda is to provide information on what ice caps really are, what is really changing, the real hard facts of the situation here, who's to blame, and ultimately what our options are, what we can do to take action. Now, ice caps, they're a massive, thick layer of snow and ice. They generally exist in the polar and flat regions of our planet, and they store majority of the Earth's fresh water. This is information coming from the National Snow and Ice Data Center 2017, Advancing Knowledge of Earth's Frozen Regions. Now, why protect the ice caps? What is the benefit to us to protect these ice caps? And they actually do a lot for the Earth and our well-being. They are generally white, and this whiteness reflects the sunlight back into space. So when the sun is bombarding us with these harmful rays, the ice caps actually help with reflecting some of those rays back into space. They also influence ocean currents. So they influence the ocean currents and the marine migration patterns as well. Now, the ice caps, along with storing the fresh water, they also store quite a bit of gases, methane being one of the gases that is stored, frozen, locked inside these ice caps. As these ice caps begin to melt, the methane is then released into the atmosphere and it just collects there. The native peoples that may be inhabiting the ice cap regions and the wildlife habitat is also a concern and a reason why we need to protect these ice caps. Now, there's real change occurring. It is not a Santa Claus or an Easter Bunny. There's real change occurring, and you can see these statistics in my PowerPoint. The first graph that I included into the PowerPoint is the average cumulative mass balance of these glaciers. And from 1940 up until now, you can see a steady decrease in the overall mass of our glaciers. And this is something of the range of 30 meters of water. It is measured in water. And this data comes from the World Glacier Monitoring System 2016. I've also included some satellite imagery from NASA, and it shows the dwindling Arctic sea ice. In the first picture from September 1979, you'll see the Arctic ice and what it was at that time. Next to it, September 2015. There's a slight difference, and at first it might not seem that big of a deal. But when you take into consideration the amount of land and water that is being displayed through these satellite images, that is a lot of ice that's missing. And this information and satellite images come straight from NASA. There's a lot of indicators that would indicate that the world is getting warmer and that our ice caps are decreasing. I included a graph that shows a trend in the average Earth temperature, and from recorded history 1880 until now, you can see that the line is just going up, and within the most recent years the rate of increase is going up as well. From this time, it's been about 1 degree Celsius, a little over 1 degree Celsius warmer. This information comes from the climate sector at NASA. So the overall global climate and the overall global environment has been getting warmer. 1 degree Celsius, 2 degrees Celsius might not seem like a big deal, but our ecosystem has evolved to operate in a very particular parameters, and just a small amount of change, a few degrees, can really throw things off for Earth and its inhabitants. Another indicator is the sea level has been rising. I've included a graph from the NOAA organization, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. From 1880 until now, the overall sea level on this planet has increased by 10 inches. Now again, 10 inches might not seem like a lot of water, but if you can imagine the surface area that the oceans cover on this Earth, and to make that sea level increase 10 inches across that surface area, that's an immense amount of water. Other indicators include the actual physical shrinking of the ice cap area, which is evident through the satellite imageries that I've shown. Sea level is rising at an increasing rate. Average glacier mass is decreasing, and greenhouse gases accumulation is increasing. Now, a common misconception about these gases is that as soon as they're emitted, they go up into our atmosphere and end up harmlessly in space. But that's not the case. A lot of these gases will stay trapped in our atmosphere and ozone for years, some of them for thousands of years. And you can imagine, it's almost like filling a room with smoke. Eventually there's going to be a point where that smoke's going to be overwhelming, and it's going to, these gases are going to increase the global warming, especially when we are heavily saturated. Now, who's responsible? Who's responsible for these greenhouse gas emissions? Obviously, it is a majority of the human race. I've included a graph to show which sectors contribute most to these greenhouse gas emissions, and the energy sector has won by a landslide, and it's increasing. We have statistics from 1990 that the energy sector had released about 23 million metric tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, and it's only gotten worse. And then 2010, the same sector, the energy sector, released about 33 million metric tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And this is not just a harmless gas that floats away into space. It's being trapped within our atmosphere. And this information is coming from the World Resources Institute 2014 Climate Analysis Indicators. Other things that the humans have done to increase this is industrialization. That has created a lot of greenhouse gases. The burning of fossil fuels. We have our coal, we have our oil, and our trend of wasting water. So ultimately, it is us. But we can do our part. It's not too late. Fortunately, we can do our part to slow down and prevent environmental changes causing the polar ices to melt. Scientists believe and blame that fossil fuels such as oil and coal and gasoline for the production of gases that trap the heat in the atmosphere and lead to higher average temperatures, as you've seen through the statistics that I provided. Scientists also call this phenomenon global warming. What can you do to prevent global warming, you might ask? Well, it's simple as conserving energy. Some communities have begun to use renewable resources, such as solar energy from the sun and wind power. Do your part, though it can be simple as turning a light switch off when you leave the room. We also could be driving more economical cars, ones that don't burn fossil fuels. We have a lot of options to go to electric cars. Like I said before, when you leave a room, turn the light switch off. You're not only saving money, but you're saving Earth inevitably. We are big wastes of water. We brush our teeth with the water running, and that is something that something small that you can do that can help, turning the water off while you brush. And we need to invest more into solar energy and renewable energies such as wind power. So I'd like to ask you a question. What's worse, helping the planet and being wrong about who's to blame for global warming? Or to do nothing and figure out that we could have saved the planet, but now it's too late? I ask you not to save the world, but to understand our impact on this planet, and we have to take responsibility for what we can control as individuals. Let's not add to this problem. Thank you very much.